Picture this. The final whistle pierces the London night. Red and blue scarves whirl in the air like celebratory fireworks. The fans of Crystal Palace are frozen in a moment of euphoric disbelief. Selhurst Park, a ground that has known more heartbreak than glory over its 118-year history, has just witnessed the impossible. For the first time ever, the Eagles have clinched the FA Cup, a prize that had always seemed tantalizingly out of reach. In those first seconds, it feels like the start of a golden era, not just for the club, but for South London itself. Yet, as the confetti settles, the fairy tale takes a jarring turn. Instead of parades and preparations for European adventures, Palace's dream is shattered by a harsh, impersonal announcement. Their place in the Europa League has been stripped away. What happened? How did one of football's purest triumphs turn into such bitter heartbreak, not just for a club, but for an entire community? And what does this say about the direction European football is heading? This is not just the story of Crystal Palace's agony. It's a warning to every fan, player, and investor. It's a flashing signal that the tectonic plates beneath the beautiful game are shifting. At the heart of the storm is a trend that is quietly, but relentlessly, reshaping global football: multi-club ownership. Just a generation ago, the idea of a single owner or corporate group holding stakes in multiple football clubs, especially across different countries, was almost unthinkable. Football's culture was rooted in local identity and fierce autonomy. But over the past decade, the landscape has been upended. Today, more than 300 professional clubs around the world are part of some kind of multi-club ownership network. That's more than double the number involved just 3 years ago. The careers of thousands of players, the strategic direction of dozens of leagues, and the hopes of countless fans are now tied to the decisions of a small group of powerful investors. Let's trace how this phenomenon exploded. The pioneering model was the Red Bull football empire. What began with Austria's Salzburg and Germany's Leipzig soon stretched to the New York Red Bulls, Brazil's Red Bull Bragantino, and even a club in Ghana. The Red Bull blueprint was clear: align club philosophies, unify scouting and coaching structures, and create a conveyor belt for emerging talent. This was an industrial approach to football, where branding and player development could be optimized across continents. Hot on their heels came the City Football Group, with Manchester City at its apex. Today, this group owns clubs in Spain, the United States, Australia, China, India, France, Belgium, Japan, and Uruguay, a truly global network. For investors, the appeal is obvious: economies of scale, diversified risk, access to talent pipelines in emerging markets, and a platform to build international brands. The football club, once a local institution, has become an asset in a worldwide financial portfolio. But alongside the business logic, a host of new challenges have emerged. The influx of capital from sovereign wealth funds, private equity giants, and venture capitalists has brought legal, ethical, and sporting dilemmas that regulators struggle to keep up with. UEFA, European football's governing body, initially responded with a piecemeal, case-by-case approach. When Red Bull's dual ownership threatened the integrity of European competitions, UEFA forced a governance restructure, ensuring no single individual held decisive control over both clubs. This compromise allowed both Salzburg and Leipzig to compete in European tournaments, but it set a precedent that was always going to be tested. As multi-club networks multiplied, the cracks widened. The introduction of financial fair play in the early 2010s was designed to clamp down on reckless spending and keep clubs within their means. But multi-club ownership opened new doors for regulatory arbitrage. Critics argue that transfers between clubs in the same network are often manipulated. Prices can be inflated or deflated to suit financial needs. Profits can be shifted across borders, and spending caps can be sidestepped with creative accounting. A recent academic report found that player transfer fees within multi-club networks are, on average, notably higher than comparable market transactions, suggesting the system is being gamed. Transparency is a further concern. Many multi-club structures rely on layers of offshore trusts, holding companies, and shell corporations, making it almost impossible to know who really controls what. This opacity not only threatens fair competition, but also raises alarms about money laundering and illicit finance. The European Club Association has issued warnings. Unless football strengthens oversight and transparency, the sport risks losing the trust of fans and the broader public. Now, let's return to the heartache at Crystal Palace. Their chairman, Steve Parish, a lifelong fan and local businessman, has described the situation as like winning the lottery, going to the counter, and being told you don't get the prize. The sense of injustice among players, staff, and fans is raw and real. Palace's predicament stems from their co-owner, John Textor, who also has major interests in France's Olympique Lyonnais and Brazil's Botafogo. According to UEFA's rules, any potential conflicts of interest in club ownership must be resolved by March 1st of each year. But here's the cruel twist. When the deadline passed, Palace hadn't even reached the FA Cup quarterfinals. No one in their wildest dreams expected to be on the brink of a historic cup win. Yet, with the silverware in hand, they found themselves on the wrong side of a technicality. UEFA's current stance is uncompromising. In recent years, the Court of Arbitration for Sport, football's highest legal authority, has consistently sided with strict regulatory enforcement. Flexible, case-specific solutions are out. Automatic bans and demotions for non-compliance are now the norm. The scale of the issue is growing so fast that UEFA has doubled its compliance staff in just 3 years, and even the world's richest investors are feeling the heat. The American billionaire Woody Johnson is reportedly ready to pay nearly £200 million to acquire Textor's stake in Palace, pending an exhaustive Premier League approval process that can take up to 2 months and involves rigorous financial and ethical checks. Meanwhile, the ripple effects are global. In Brazil, Botafogo fans have staged protests, accusing Textor of underinvestment and neglect. In France, Lyon supporters have taken to both social media and the streets to voice anger at decisions they feel risk their club's future. The discontent is not just local. It's spreading to boardrooms, regulatory hearings, and courtrooms from London to Lausanne. Inside the Palace boardroom, the fight back is on. Steve Parish has vowed to challenge the decision with every legal means available, describing it as one of the greatest injustices in the history of European football. The club is exploring appeals, negotiations, and lobbying for intervention from higher authorities. Parish's argument is both emotional and logical. I don't think UEFA wants to see this. Clubs that rightfully qualify for a competition being locked out on the most ridiculous technicality. Yet, most legal experts are skeptical. UEFA's determination to close loopholes and recent Court of Arbitration rulings suggest only the most robust legal challenges or sweeping regulatory changes could alter the outcome. Former UEFA executive Alex Phillips notes, "When the rules are written to close loopholes, only robust legal arguments or sweeping changes can move the goalposts." The broader impact is profound and growing. In 2021, fewer than 150 clubs were involved in multi-club networks. Today, that figure has soared past 300, with thousands of players affected each season. For young talents, the implications are life-changing. Career moves, loan spells, and even playing time can be dictated as much by the needs of an investment portfolio as by sporting merit. The system may help a select few, such as Erling Haaland or Julian Alvarez, who have flourished in multi-club environments. But for every superstar, there are countless players whose progress stalls or whose opportunities are limited by boardroom decisions made continents away. Powerful investors view multi-club portfolios as the future, a way to dominate new markets, identify rising stars early, and amplify commercial reach. But the backlash is mounting. In France, Germany, Brazil, and even in England's lower leagues, fan protests against absentee, billionaire owners are now routine. Supporters demand transparency, local accountability, and a greater say in shaping their club's destiny. Regulatory pressure is also mounting. Both UEFA and FIFA are under increasing scrutiny to toughen rules. There are proposals for stricter limits on shared ownership, new independent oversight authorities, and even revenue-sharing mechanisms to level the playing field. In boardrooms from Zurich to London, the debate is intensifying. Yet, it's not all doom and gloom. Some see hope in the rise of supporter-driven models and community engagement. Germany's 50+1 rule, which ensures that club members, mainly fans, retain voting control, is seen as a shield against outside manipulation. In Spain, fan-owned giants like Barcelona and Real Madrid have used member democracy to weather both sporting and financial storms, though even they are not immune to crisis. In England, some lower league clubs are experimenting with hybrid fan-investor structures, seeking a balance between commercial ambition and community values. What happens next if Palace's appeal fails? As most experts expect, legal battles will become more common, with the Court of Arbitration for Sport as the new battleground for football's future. These cases can drag on for months or even years, slowly reshaping the regulatory landscape. Investors, meanwhile, are getting more creative, employing blind trusts, designing ever more complex governance arrangements, or targeting clubs in leagues with lighter oversight. For example, Nottingham Forest's owner, Evangelos Marinakis, used a blind trust to manage his control of Olympiacos in Greece, attempting to comply with UEFA's rules. The upshot is a football ecosystem that is more fragmented, more opaque, and harder to regulate than ever before. So what does all this mean for you, as a supporter, an investor, or even a student of the game? First, it's a case study in the collision between global finance and local culture. If you back a club with international or ambitious owners, beware. Regulatory shifts can upend your club's fortunes overnight. For investors, the lesson is clear. Regulatory risk is now hardwired into football economics. It's both a threat and an opportunity. Savvy investors might target undervalued clubs poised to benefit from future rule changes, or steer clear of those on shaky regulatory ground. Due diligence, always important, is now absolutely essential. For fans, there's a sobering but empowering message. Supporters' voices still matter. In 2021, coordinated fan protests forced the collapse of the proposed European Super League, a powerful reminder of what collective action can achieve. Across Europe, engaged fan communities are influencing club policy and regulatory debates. If you care about your club's future, get involved. Attend meetings, write to your club's leaders, contact regulators, and make your opinions known. The pain for Palace is deeply personal. As Steve Parish said, "This isn't just Palace's problem. It's a bad day for football as a whole." The dream of European nights at Selhurst Park has been dashed, perhaps for years to come. But the story is bigger than one club. It's a wake-up call for the entire football family. Can Palace's appeal succeed? History and expert analysis suggest the odds are long. But the real issue is even larger. The very future of football ownership is being decided right now. In boardrooms, legal chambers, and stadiums from Manchester to Marseille, every ruling, every protest, every appeal will shape the next generation of the game. Here's something that's often overlooked. UEFA's approach to these conflicts has evolved rapidly. In the past, flexibility and compromise allowed clubs like Red Bull Salzburg and RB Leipzig to compete in Europe, provided sweeping governance reforms were made. But now, even a minor technicality, a missed deadline, an ambiguous shareholding, or an unclear trust can spell disaster. Regulators are convinced that only strict, unwavering enforcement can preserve the integrity of competitions and restore public faith. The price, as Palace is discovering, can be devastating. What does the road ahead look like? Three main scenarios are emerging for the next era of European football. First, there will likely be a dramatic increase in regulatory scrutiny. UEFA and FIFA are already under pressure to impose tighter ownership limits, require greater transparency, and standardize conflict of interest checks. Clubs may be forced to restructure, sell assets, or even face relegation or exclusion from prestigious tournaments. The voices of smaller clubs, fan organizations, and even national governments will play a bigger role, pushing for fairer and more transparent systems. Some are proposing independent watchdogs or revenue-sharing mechanisms to ensure that the benefits of football's global reach are more evenly shared. Second, as regulators get tougher, the legal battleground will grow ever more heated. Clubs excluded from European competition are mounting aggressive legal challenges, often at great expense. The Court of Arbitration for Sport has already set precedents, such as upholding FIFA's ban on Club Lyon from the Club World Cup due to shared ownership, despite fierce protests from players and fans who called it a grave injustice. These cases will be pivotal, with legal scholars and sports lawyers shaping the future rules of the game. It will be a messy, expensive, and unpredictable process, but it may eventually bring the clarity and fairness that clubs and fans crave. Proactive clubs might seek to engage with regulators ahead of time, avoiding costly disputes and ensuring compliance. Third, multi-club ownership models themselves will adapt. Some investors may shift towards more decentralized structures or focus on acquiring clubs in leagues with lighter regulation, resulting in a patchwork of standards and enforcement. Others may double down on transparency and best practices, hoping to set the industry benchmark. Financial analysts will be watching closely as the balance between commercial opportunity and regulatory risk continues to shift. There are also opportunities. When managed ethically, multi-club networks can provide young players with global development pathways, exposure to different playing styles, and innovative coaching methods. The challenge is to ensure these benefits are shared equitably and that the game's soul is not sacrificed for profit. Let's not forget the impact on domestic competitions. The rise of multi-club ownership within single countries is also a growing concern, threatening to distort competition and undermine league integrity. The English Football League and Premier League are both considering new rules to prevent conflicts of interest at the national level. In the United States, Major League Soccer enforces strict single-entity rules to avoid such problems. But as investment becomes more global, the pressure to harmonize standards across borders will only increase. All of this means that the debate about football's future is more urgent and complex than ever. The choices made in the next few years by clubs, investors, regulators, and fans will echo for generations. Will football remain a community institution rooted in local pride, or will it become simply another asset class in the portfolios of global finance? That is the question at the heart of the current crisis. So, wherever you stand, whether as a diehard supporter, a curious observer, or a business mind searching for the next big opportunity, remember, the era of multi-club ownership is only just beginning. Its effects will be debated and contested for years to come. The actions and decisions of today will shape the sport for decades. If you want to stay ahead of these seismic shifts in the world's favorite game, don't forget to subscribe, like, and share this video. Tell us in the comments, should UEFA tighten the rules even more, or is football in danger of losing its soul to bureaucracy and big business?